We'll call the Facilities Committee meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. on September 18th, and we'll start with our roll call.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Jason Dixon,
Here.
Thorsten Harrison,
Present.
Ratan Kanthala.
Present.
Item 3, receiving of public comments. Is there anybody from the audience wishing to make a public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, facility use update. The facility use minutes are available for review. I don't think there's any discussion on item A. Item B, finance report.
So one of the things I wanted to point out on the finance report is we've been carrying an expense at Lammersville School of $44,814 for about 4.5 years. And that expense, it was to replace the eastern field at the school. And we haven't done that in a number of years for a number of reasons. And now that the sewage has been fixed and the sprinklers have been fixed and some other things have been fixed, we'd like to put a new field in. But I need to come back with a quote for the field. I think it's going to be at least double the 44 and maybe a little more than that. I'll bring that back to the group so that we can finally resolve that one outstanding issue. But other than that, our balance is $409,000 approximately.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, moving on to item C, facility usage reports from 4/23/25 through 9/10/25. Staff report, please.
Okay. So the first graph we have here is just our hourly usage. 3 to 8 p.m. roughly falls off after that is our main usage after school. We go down to Altamont. We can see right there, right now, currently the NPR is our biggest area. The green is for, the youth groups that we have, and then the blue is for the school, the LUSD organizations. So you can see it's about half and half, but our biggest area to be used there. And then Bethany, the same, that long line is the NPR there. I'm not sure why it's not listed, but that's the NPR usage. Again, it's our nonprofits groups and then our school groups as well. Cortez, the same thing. The NPRs are nonprofit and youth groups, and then the LUSD organizations. They have their fields as well. The baseball fields are being used. And then the softball, soccer fields is also. Costa's facility usage, the multi-purpose room again is our biggest use, split between the youth organizations and the student use. The softball fields outside is a tier 3 area that was used by one of the outside groups. Hanson, same thing, the multi-purpose room, pretty much evenly split between youth groups and the LUSD organizations. Outdoors right now for the baseball fields, both of them are being used. And then the facility usage, on Lammersville, again, the multi-purpose room. Not a lot of usage with the fields just because of having to repair it at the moment, but then the classrooms as well over there being used. PDC is all internal. That's usually used for our trainings. And then Cuesta, the long line there, again, it's not listed, but that's the NPR. That's getting the most use, and it's split pretty much evenly between the LUSD organizations and the youth groups. Wickland, NPR as well. The outdoor soccer fields are being used. And then the high school, so got a lot of usage there. Most of that is our LUSD organizations. The large gym, you can see the softball fields, the classrooms, learning commons, pretty much all the areas at the high schools, all the fields are being used for some purpose at this point. And that's all in the facilities usage.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by anyone?
I'm just trying to decipher all the letters in the columns in the middle.
For the high school,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little jumbled there. It almost needs to be made bigger.
We need
I
to
think.
do a little better job on that. We'll see if we can fix that.
It's like a scattergraph.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And most of the usage we're talking about is Monday through Friday, or right?
Typically Monday through Friday. The high school has a little more weekend usage.
Okay.
But most of the elementary schools, 90% of it's Monday through Friday.
Okay.
After school mostly.
All right. Thank you. Item D, denied applications. Staff report?
Okay. So denied applications. The first one was no available classrooms to rent. About the next few, or they just submitted at the wrong times. They were group 3 and they submitted on a day when group 1 was submitting, so they had to come back and resubmit. And then at the bottom there, you can see that one, they didn't meet the 2-hour minimum, so we had to deny that application. And then one wanted the courts after hours that we usually rent, and so we don't do permits after 9:30, and they wanted it later than that.
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right. Moving on to item E, reimbursements to organizations. Staff report?
Okay, so we had 4 reimbursements. They were all deposit refunds. The first US Together was $40. The rest were $200 deposits that were refunded once the event was over.
Okay. Then we'll move on to item VA, facility improvements. Total cost $34,741.17. Can we get a staff report on that?
You betcha. So the high school has requested new volleyball uprights, which I believe is a valid expense for user fee, because we allow people that use the small gym and the large gym, if they need to use the volleyball uprights, we allow it, because we're the only ones that have the uprights that fit in the holes. It's not like they can bring their own uprights and make it work, and we don't want them ruining our floors, so that's why we let them use it. So it's time to replace them. They've gotten a lot of use. The cost is $10,994. And then the second item is water fill stations, which the first 10 are in.
Wow.
So
Nice.
that's a good thing, because that's taken a while. So there's Altamont, Wickland, Bethany, Lammersville, and the high school have all gotten water fill stations. If we get 10 more, I think we can fill up the rest of the elementary schools and add another 4 to the high school. And then at that point, I think we can reevaluate the map that Jimmy and I made 4 years ago, I think it is, and see where we are. And then I'll come back and see if we need just a few more or not. So
Right.
that's the request.
Glad we are working on that.
Yeah. Same. I think it's great.
So do I. I'm just giving Thor a little bit of a hard time.
Yes, it took a while, but we figured out how to get it right. So
Okay. So then we will move on to item B, community member 2-year term. Staff report?
So the process has begun for the selection of a new community member. Last night, Dr. Nicholas reviewed the list with the board president, and tonight I have provided an updated list to the 2 board members that sit on this committee, and we will work to find a date to do the interviews like we've done in years past. And then once the interviews are done, we'll bring that name to the full board for approval, and then that individual will start on the committee. Everybody, so I'll meet with the 2 of you later to figure out a day to do that.
Okay.
Does that work?
That works. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to update you that we're close.
All right. That's exciting.
Yes.
And this is the list.
All right. I assumed, but thank you. Item C, Costa Elementary School field repair. Staff report?
All right, so this has been an ongoing issue that has come to this committee a number of times, and that's the fields at Costa. So our new landscape management company, Gachina, has done a soil analysis of all of our schools, but most importantly, Costa School, where we've had a really problematic growth of grass out there. It's getting watered every day of the week for the number of hours that we can water. And we're maxing out everything, the number of hours we can water and the days that we can water. So their analyst gave me a 6-page report on the soil. And I won't belabor 6 pages, but I want to tell you what their plan is, what they're going to amend the soils with. They're going to amend the soils with 25 pounds per 1,000 square feet of bone meal, 10 pounds of feather meal for every 1,000 square feet, 5 pounds of potassium sulfate, and 10 pounds of gypsum. So the plan is, I got a quote today that I'll be sending through to the next board meeting for approval to do both fields at Costa. The superintendent and I talked, and I think he would like to do the one field that's furthest west first for proof of concept. So we'll get them to do that, get the grass growing. Once that is working and going well, then we'll expand and do the same service to other grass fields. Because at this point, I don't trust anyone or anything because we've punched it twice, we've overseeded it twice, we've fertilized it 4 times, we've done a lot of different things. So if this works, great, we'll duplicate effort to other schools, but we need proof of concept first, and I think he made a really good point. That's my recommendation moving forward. But I just wanted this group to know because we've dealt with this for a year now. So that's my report on the field.
Thank you.
Those soil amendments sound like they should help with water retention in the soils. So hopefully that works.
Yes, and they're also going to overseed once the soil amendments have taken. I guess they have to sit for a while, and then they're going to overseed again. And then we have to stay off it for 4 weeks, and then we can open it up back to the public.
And did they give an estimate of how long it will take for us to notice when should we notice it's working?
He said 4 weeks.
Oh, so the 4 weeks once we can use it.
But it'll be closed longer than that. I'm not
Okay.
being clear. So once they do the treatment and let it sit and then overseed, it'll be 4 weeks. It'll likely be cordoned off for longer than that, probably 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know exactly yet. But we finally got a quote, and I think it'll be good to see if that works. Because if that works, then we'll do the other field, the soccer field, and then we'll also do Hanson Field and Cordis Field, because the Southtown fields are not very good. And then we'll look at Wickland too, maybe Wickland, but we'll see how far we get. So.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Moving on to item D, Lammersville Elementary School fields turf replacement. Staff report?
So this is a request to come back with a quote. As I said when I showed you the fee that's been sitting on that expense report for 4 or 5 years, we're going to get a new quote for grass. We now have sprinklers that work. Gachina has fixed all the sprinklers out there and run some new lines after we changed out the septic tank. The septic tank goes all the way halfway out to the field, out onto the grass field. So that is all finished. That is graded. So now what we'll do is we'll reseed everything and redo that field. I will come back with an updated quote for that for this group as soon as I get it from Gachina. So that dirt is better than the dirt at Costa.
Well, that is native dirt, and all the one in town has had the topsoil scraped off and moved around here and there. So there's no topsoil in most of our fields, likely.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. So we are doing soil treatment for some grounds, right? So this turf replacement will be done after that or before?
So what was that again? With the
Soil treatment, what we were discussing, the previous item.
yes,
So turf replacement will be done after that or before?
it'll be. I'm going to do. Well, hopefully, I'm going to have them do both at the same time. It all depends on when everything gets approved. So Costa will be quicker because we already have a quote for Costa. So that'll go to the next board meeting, which is October 15th, I think. So that'll likely be first and then Lammersville. But we've got to wait until the heat stops or nothing's going to grow. So, so we got to wait for that too. So,
Any other questions or comments? Moving on to item E, grounds, landscape, and maintenance. Staff report.
So I wanted to give an update on the new landscape management company that we're using named Gachina. They have, they stumbled coming in because I don't think they realized what a big task this district is with the amount of grass that we have and the wind and the heat, because they come from the Bay Area where it's not quite like this. So it's hot and it's windy, so it's double jeopardy here for growing grass. However, with that said, in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we've seen a tremendous shift in the grass. It's greener, it's filling in. They're punching in the fields that need it, meaning they're aerating the fields that need it, and they're fertilizing as well when it's not too hot. They're doing a much better job of trimming and keeping the bushes and the trees that are 12 foot or under. That's part of our contract. They're doing a much better job with that than both the previous companies since I've been here have done. So the initial, they stumbled a little bit coming out of the blocks, but they're doing much better right now. So I'm very happy with them at this juncture. So I just wanted to give some good news because it seems like I always bring bad news when it comes to grounds. So
Any questions or comments? Okay, then we'll move on to item F, facilities use tier system review.
okay, so this was brought forward by a gentleman by the name of Michael Scales at our last facilities meeting last year. And he gave us a proposal and a piece of paper that had some really good ideas on it for adjusting how we release the use of fields. So this document here, I'm making this kind of a three-part approach here. Since Jen put that on the screen, I feel like I should hand it out. I feel like the teacher handing out the paper too soon. There you go, if you want to take one and pass it down. So a part of his presentation and another individual's presentation on that night was, we don't charge much. We heard that multiple times at multiple meetings, that we're a really good deal. And so with that said, I thought, I'm going to do some research. So I went and did some research, and the facilities use handbook started in 1314. We have not changed any of the rates since 1314, except when we added a facility. So we added the pool, and we put in the pool price. We added the football field, we added the football field price. We added the theater, we added that. But no other items on there have changed. PG&E goes up 10% per year. PG&E has gone up 120% since the inception of this pay rate. Most of the facilities that we use that are indoor, we're leaving the lights on for longer than we would normally, and it's costing us as a district money. We're watering the fields incessantly because we want fields that are safe and usable by the community. Ergo, I think that it would behoove us to adjust the cost schedule here of using the facilities accordingly. Now, in some cases, they've only been raised maybe 20%, in some cases 50% or more. Especially the basketball courts, we've been charging $5. Those increased by quite a bit. Jason did some research at some other school districts. We've heard how cheap Tracy is because people tell us that we're so much cheaper, or how expensive Tracy is because we've heard how cheap we are compared to them. But what I thought is maybe we could do some homework and ingest this, and then I could bring it back to the next meeting, kind of do a first read, second read, and then if everybody's good with it, take it to the board for approval, and then communicate out to our groups and give them plenty of time. For some of these, there is no real fair retail market value because people don't rent outdoor basketball courts generally as a fair market value, right? So in some cases, we had to kind of estimate that fair market value. But you'll notice the NPR, the gym NPR went up a bit. The kitchen use, we bumped it up a little bit. We really don't get many people using our kitchens, but the use of the kitchen is more expensive. Gas, the air conditioning, HVAC, I mean, we pay a ton for HVAC and HVAC repair. The large gym, we adjusted, and it's still actually a really good deal for the large gym. The small gym we adjusted, and it's still a really good deal. The multipurpose rooms, you can see the stadium we adjusted, and the press box. The swimming pool we adjusted. We adjusted the swimming pool a little less because it's a newer facility, and but it breaks every other week.
Yeah.
And it uses a ton of power, even though we have solar and we have solar heating over there. So anyway, I thought maybe we could take a look at this and come back and at the next meeting talk about it, and maybe I could bring it forward to the board after that, if everybody's okay with it.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm noticing is we had some discussion of Mountain House-based
Yeah.
groups, both nonprofits, church groups, and even the fair rental value and non-Mountain House.
Yes, that's next. I have more data for that. This is just part one.
Oh, part one.
I skipped. There's 3 parts to this. This is a
I forgot that
tripartite
part.
presentation. Okay, so if you could take one, let me see. Take one and pass it down, please. So a part of Mr. Scales' request was, putting in some interim tiers. So I want to make sure I'm clear on this. So when we talk about this document, when we talk about the tiers on this document, we're talking about whether they're a nonprofit, whether they're for-profit, et cetera. Now, when we're talking about the tiers to be able to rent facilities, there's basically 3 tiers. And this was set up by this committee, I think 3 years ago. We adjusted things for the tier 1 were people that were in good standing longer than 10 years, hadn't missed any payments, were good partners with the school district. They became tier 1. Tier 2 were people that were a little less time but were good partners. They became tier 2. And tier 3 was everybody else. Okay? And what happens is tier 1 gets first access, tier 2 gets second access, and tier 3 gets third access. Now, what I believe Mr. Scales was proposing
Sorry,
was...
Thor, it's
Yes.
actually skates.
Oh,
This is
skates,
a
I'm
T,
sorry.
Yeah, just
Oh, it is a T. I'm sorry, skates.
Yeah.
Thank you. What Mr. Skates was proposing...
so figure he should get credit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Skates. Was a 2A and adding a 2A and a 2AA, prioritizing local youth programs and local youth athletic programs, and adding some checks on the groups that use the facilities, in that all the kids that are playing in the sport live in Mountain House, or the organization origin is in Mountain House, etc. So with that said, I wanted to point out to the group that this document here there's 435 user groups that are registered with us now, and that's expressed in this spreadsheet. 256 of them have a Mountain House address. Okay? 59 of the user groups here expressed here are tier 1. 11 are tier 2, and 365 are tier 3. Now, that doesn't mean in any moment 435 groups are using our facilities. It might be 250 groups in the beginning of the year, in the first half of the year, and 210 different groups in the second half of the year, and maybe 150 groups during the summer, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So, with that said, if we are going to consider another level of access for rental, like a 2A or a 2AA or a 1A or whatever, we have to realize that we're going to have to set criteria, and staff is going to have to discern between all these groups who we're setting the criteria for. And so with that, if the direction to me is, yeah, let's set more criteria, we'll do it. But I just want to make sure everybody knows what we're getting into with the scope and how many people we have using the facilities. Whether we want to make rules of Mountain House only people in Tier 1, Mountain House only in Tier 1A we could do. And then anyone outside of Mountain House that's currently in Tier 1 becomes Tier 2. I mean, there's a lot of different choices we could make. No matter what we make, we're going to make somebody mad.
Yeah.
Right? So no matter what, that's going to happen. But I mean, I think Mr. Skates was making some really good points. Like he gets X'd out of some facilities.
Well, I believe the mission of this committee has always been for our students to come first.
Yep.
And I think our students are our students all the time, whether they're in school or they're playing flag football or they're whatever they're doing.
Basketball, whatever. Yep.
They're our students. So I feel like they and the organizations that they belong to should have priority. So I don't think it's right if an organization that's Mountain House centered, serving Mountain House students, should lose out to someone coming from Tracy or Livermore or Brentwood or wherever it may be to use our facilities.
Agreed. So with that said, so in the Tier 1, there's multiple groups that are from out of the area. One of them is the county registrar of voters. They're still going to get their use of our facilities when it comes to voting time.
Yes.
Right?
We want people to vote.
Right. And one of them is French Camp Firefighters Association. They're in town. They're our people because that's who is our fire department, right? But there are some basketball. There's some youth sports. There's a variety of different groups here that are not from our area that are in Tier 1. So if the direction is move the Tier 1 Mountain House groups up, create a Tier 1A, and potentially do the same in Tier 2, a 2 and a 2A, we could draft something up and create something and bring it back to the next meeting if that's...
That would be my inclination. I would also like to be sure that staff time is respected and honored, and that when this is all said and done, staff time has been compensated for the time that it took to set that up. In other words, the people from out of town need to pay for the extra expense of setting this up and running it.
Okay, yeah. And one of the things that this group did is we hired an assistant for Jason full-time to help with this. So, and she's been great. So I think that we have staff time to where we can get this working and functioning. It just may take a couple times bringing it back to get it to where we want it.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be ready next week or anything.
Yeah.
But I think in the long run, it's something worth doing because we have limited facilities, and as I said, we need to make sure our students in school-related activities, but second, our students in outside-related activities have the benefit of the district.
And I know that there's an argument that, sometimes it's just the coach or the group from outside that rents it, but I still believe that, the people that live here and are living here and supporting our kids who live here are their groups are majority Mountain House, where the other groups are mixes of kids. And so I'm sure we'll hear that argument, but I don't really put much stock into it. I agree with what Trustee Pombo says.
Yes, I too agree with that. Like, let's give the priority to our students.
So maybe what we could do, and it's going to be more staff time, but it sounds like it's the direction we want to go. If we contact a group that is not in Mountain House and they say, no, all of our kids are Mountain House, we get a roster and we check. Because most of the kids in Mountain House go to our schools. We have an easy way to look. We can look in Aries and see.
Yeah.
The proof of that has to be incumbent on the organization. They need to bring us proof that
Yeah.
that their
Yeah.
participants are our students.
Yeah.
And do we want at least half? Do we want, how do we want, 3/4? Because it's going to get to that,
Yeah,
because
it
the people want to use our facilities because they're nice, they're well lit, they're safe. They want to use our stuff. So, and the city doesn't have any.
I think we do.
Pardon?
I think to keep it easy is if their address is listed outside of Mountain House, like they don't live here, no matter who's on their teams or that kind of thing, then let's say it's a group 1, they're now a group 1A or a group 1B, however we want to do that, but they're still there at the top, but they're the Mountain House people who are running the events or the teams get the first choice.
Yeah.
Very first choice. We might have to extend days on signing up or something, but I think we'll get. I mean, every year checking on the roster of kids for each team outside of Mountain House might get a little much.
It might, however, when you look at the list, it's not that many. And as Mr. Pombo said, we make them bring it to us.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the logistics are of
Yeah.
checking it, but to me, it seems like all you'd have to do is input the roster, have the computer compare it to our district roster,
Right.
and it should just pop up a number.
Why don't we do some work and we'll bring back a proposal
Okay.
that doesn't swamp Izzy,
Yeah.
but is still doable.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Absolutely.
so.
And would you want us to tier 1, 2, and 3? 3 has 365 people are in tier 3. Or tier 1 and 2 to start with to see how that goes. Or I don't know. I don't know if this, Mr. Skates.
Start.
Do you know
We can
what
start small and then.
do you know what the usage is on that tier 3? In other words, is it 10% of our facility rentals, or is it 40%?
We'll have to
Because
bring
that would make a big
That would make a difference. Let's just kind of get tier 1 and 2, kind
Yeah.
of how we think it should be, and then let us do some data. You got that to check that data? We'll look at some data, and maybe we'll come back with a color coded and kind of where they exist.
Anyway, I absolutely don't want to swamp staff with a bunch of extra work, but it should be equitable
Yeah.
for the community.
Yeah, and Mr. Skates made some really good points. Like he said, I'm locked out. I can't get to a facility, and I feel for him. So if there's a group that's from San Leandro, Xing him out, I don't know if that's fair because he lives in town and his group is in town.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair personally. So and like I said, I do think it should be equitable across the board. However, with many processes, we can't start with everything. So if we can start with tier 1 and 2 at least, and flesh that out, then we can eventually progress to tier 3.
I agree that it's not fair if the group is from San Leandro, but if only the coach and the mailing address is San Leandro, and they're serving primarily our kids, that's different than somebody, a group from Tracy that 80% of the kids are from Tracy,
Right.
and they're coming to use our facilities because they're cheaper or more available, or they have a higher grouping.
Right. Okay. All right. I think you got enough to start.
Yeah.
I think we have enough to start. So we'll bring back to the next meeting A and B, or 1 and 2. We'll do a 1A and a 2A. So we'll do 1A, 2A.
Okay.
And yes, okay. I think we have enough to work on. And then at the next meeting, we can also decide if that we're happy with these numbers or if anybody wants to suggest some changes. Jason and I review this with the superintendent. We all think it's pretty fair. So
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say thanks for doing the work to get these numbers, and this kind of, I mean, I knew we were cheap. I had no idea we haven't like raised prices since the handbook. I mean,
I looked back all the way to 13, 14, the first year of the handbook, and they hadn't changed. We'd added new facilities, but the price hadn't changed. Yeah. All right.
Pretty amazing.
All right, we have our marching orders.
okay. Then item 6, future agenda topics and meeting dates. Item A, future agenda topics.
So I'll put, we're going to bring back the facilities use fees and structure.
Is there any other agenda topics the committee wants to talk about future meetings?
I can't think of anything offhand.
And I'll bring the Lammersville quote too.
Okay.
And maybe I'll bring a report on the cost of grass again, since it's been so problematic. So you want me to bring back a report on that, how it's doing?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Fantastic.
Moving on to item B, 25-26 meeting dates. Our next meeting is November 16th at 6:30 p.m. here, as always. And then in 2026, we have we have 2 meetings scheduled on February 5th, 2026, and May 7th, 2026, and potentially a March 12th meeting if we feel we need an extra one somewhere in there.
Sounds good.
And with that, we'll move on to item 7, and we will adjourn the facilities meeting at 7:12 p.m.